Doom, the series to which all first-person shooters owe their hearty thanks. Although not the first of its kind to exist, Doom is largely responsible for popularising the FPS genre, becoming a mainstream cultural phenomenon with its brutal demon slaying and high-octane gameplay. The old and young alike have fond experiences with the franchise, from the dial-up days of 1993 all the way through to the high-speed modern era of reboots. This perhaps is the ultimate demonic feather in its cap, a series that has stood the test of time with its... hang on, do demons actually have feathers? In order to maintain its household name status for generations, the Doom series has undergone numerous experiments and changes, some proving to be great successes, and some not even seeing a release, instead finding themselves on the cutting room floor. With so much history under its belt and the demon-destroying elements of Doom Eternal in mind, let's examine the series and its storied history for some interesting tidbits. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are 10 things you didn't know about Doom. Number 10. Its title origins. The name Doom captures the style of the game rather well. You get an idea of what to expect right off the bat, or chainsaw in this case. Although certainly fitting, the origins of the name itself are not as simple as you may initially suspect. According to John Carmack, co-creator of the franchise, the game's title was surprisingly taken from a Tom Cruise and Paul Newman film called The Colour of Money. The scene in question shows Tom Cruise's character revealing, upon request, that Doom, in the form of a pool cue, was hidden in their case, hinting at some unimaginable violence to come. That and the resulting carnage, Carmack said in an interview with Doomworld, was how I viewed us springing the game on the industry. I bet you didn't click on this list thinking you'd be thanking Tom Cruise for Doom, did you? Interestingly, the series was very nearly titled Attack of the Attackers, but the developers id Software decided this idea was, quote, too silly. Probably a good call, that one, although now I can't help but imagine what Attack of the Attackers : Eternal might have been like. Number 9. The D&D influence. Doom is a story of many contributing factors, being the initial brainchild of John Carmack, John Romero, and id Software, all stemming from a rather gutsy move made in a tabletop RPG back in 1992. Yes, the concept of Doom was actually indirectly born of one of the oldest and most popular games of the modern era, Dungeons & Dragons. During one campaign, Romero got a little ahead of himself trying to obtain a powerful magic sword, making a deal with a demon-like figure. This caused forces of hell to invade the material world, sparking the main idea of Doom's integral theme. This origin becomes even more believable when examining some of Doom's enemies and comparing them to Dungeons & Dragons' own antagonists, such as the signature Kako demon having a very similar appearance to classic D&D monster the Beholder. Other thematic influences that helped shape the series are the movies Evil Dead 2 for the gore and obvious use of a chainsaw, and Aliens for its intense and thrilling atmosphere, which has obviously persisted throughout the series. Number 8. Pop culture references. As with anything boasting widespread public appeal, Doom over the years has made frequent appearances within all forms of media, ranging from the obvious to the subtle. The game has featured in several popular TV shows, including Friends, where Chandler suggests playing it on his laptop, or The Simpsons, with Homer's career consultant having a go at a Doom-like. It's also shown in Family Guy's Naked Gun parody intro. Even the game's famous sound effects have had their share of the limelight, present in the likes of ER, Doctor Who, and many more. Obviously, the games industry also has its fair share of Doom references, paying homage to what is effectively one of the faces of video gaming's Mount Rushmore. Doom has a presence in Minecraft, Tomb Raider 3, and countless others. Even sports titles aren't immune, with protagonist Doom Guy himself available as a secret skater in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3's PC release, kickflipping and grinding his way to Earth's salvation. Probably the strangest inclusion on this list, Microsoft Excel 95 features a well-hidden Easter egg called the Hall of Tortured Souls, which takes the form of a Doom-like featuring the Microsoft development team. team. Given how linked Windows 95 and Doom were, that isn't all that surprising, but more on that a little later. Number 7. PERMADEATH. It's strange to picture Doom 1 having a much more punishing and compulsory gameplay hook than it already does, but the addition of permadeath was very nearly a reality. Doom was originally poised to use a lives system. Similar to the roguelikes and other permadeath games of today, when you ran out of lives, you would be forced to start over, without checkpoint, right from the beginning of the game. And unlike in the distinct roguelite genre, the only thing you got to take with you in death was the sting of defeat. id Software ultimately decided this would be far too frustrating for players and opted instead for a save load system. This, however, would not be the last we heard of a life-based concept in Doom. This idea made a triumphant return in Doom 2016 with its Ultra Nightmare mode, the concept being one life to make it as far as possible without dying. Of course, this is merely an optional mode, and one that I'm glad I can view others playing from a safe, observable distance. Number 6. 2016 DLC for the original game. If you heard there would be new content coming to Doom in 2016, you'd be mistaken for thinking the Doom in question was the 2016 reboot, which was of course released in that year. Any other suggestion and you'd be laughed out of the Mars facility. However, John Romero, co-creator of the series, revealed via a tweet that he had crafted an original level for the 1993 game and sent out a link for people to download and play it for free. That's right, even in January 2016, there were new official levels releasing for the original Doom. If that wasn't strange enough, Romero followed up on this by also announcing an entire multi-level release he will be calling Sigil, a spiritual successor to the 4th campaign in the original Doom. This pack contains 9 multiplayer and single-player levels and is now available for free for those who own a licensed copy of the game. Now that's what I call a video game with longevity. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, just release content for it 23 years later. Number 5. Doom 2016's Easter eggs. To celebrate the end of its long absence, Doom 2016 packed countless Easter eggs into its runtime. The series had returned to a faster-paced and more tongue-in-cheek approach, and this was especially evident in its references. Some of the more notable ones include an unlockable classic Doom section throughout every level in the game, complete with original graphics, 2 specific death animations referencing Terminator 2. One is triggered when you die in a pit of lava, resulting in a thumbs up as you sink, while another occurs when frozen, with you kneeling and shattering into pieces like the T-1000. A Vault-Tec logo from the Fallout series can be found on a large door inside a compound. A Candy Crush clone called Demon Deconstruction can be played in-game. Commander Keen, one of id Software's former releases, is referenced at least 3 times, thusly. A skull can be found wearing the Keen helmet, one of the collectibles is called Keen Guy and is wearing his outfit, and he can also be found printed on the side of a supply case as a mascot for the company Mixom. Doom 2016 also presents us with the Soul Cube, a trademark weapon from Doom 3. It can be found sparkling upon a desk, not an ideal location to store a soul-sucking weapon of mass destruction, but hey, I guess everything should have a place in a tidy home. And finally, let's not also forget that the Dragonborn helmet from Skyrim can be found on a corpse, and of course, they have an arrow in their knee, because how could they possibly resist? Number 4. John Romero's cameos. It's fairly standard to come across creators and developers finding a way to sneak themselves into their own game, particularly in the 80s and 90s, and the Doom series is no exception. However, in the most Doom way possible, co-creator John Romero is featured in 2 of the most metal and brutal Easter eggs possible. Perhaps the more surprising of the 2, in 2017, the identity of the Marine on the classic Doom cover art was revealed by John Romero. It turns out, it's John Romero. The story goes that a cover artist had been hired to come to id Software with a body model to capture the image for Doom's promotional art. Getting frustrated that the picture in his mind's eye wasn't taking shape, the co-creator of Doom jumped in front of the camera, removed his shirt, and the rest, they say, is history. More famously, of course, John Romero is also technically the final boss in Doom 2 Hell on Earth. His head is hidden behind the final boss as we know it, the Icon of Sin, which can be found by clipping through the level's boundaries. This has got to be one of the best developer cameos in gaming history. Number 3, the Turkey Puncher email. As you've seen so far, Doom is no stranger to including hidden references within its various series entries. However, this one found in Doom 3, perhaps the most tonally heavy of the games, is one of the more interesting and bizarre ones. There's an arcade machine that can be used to play Super Turbo Turkey Puncher 3, a button masher that's apparently based on a strange hatred of turkeys that prevails within the development team. If you persist and set a high score of at least 25,000 during a single session, the player's PDA device will receive an email congratulating them on their achievement, although it's not so much a commendation as an indictment, if we're honest. Though the email describes the player as a beacon of humanity for demolishing those dastardly turkeys, it also states that 2 days' leave will be removed because of their procrastination. Lesson learned, I guess. Best get back to demon slaying. Still, it's news to me that we get any annual leave at all in this line of work. Maybe I'll head to Earth for a long weekend sometime. Oh dear, maybe not. Number 2, Doom conquers Windows. Back in 1993, it would have been impossible to predict the gargantuan cultural impact that Doom would have, but the same could also be said for Microsoft and its fledgling operating system, Windows. And so perhaps fittingly, the two would forever be intrinsically linked, Windows being the vessel on which to play Doom in the mid to late 90s for countless players, apart from, the people who played it on their calculator. Showcasing just how popular Doom had become in such a short time, a staggering statistic was discovered by Microsoft producers when examining Windows usage data. In late 1993, Windows 95 was the second most installed software on computers. The first was Doom itself. Just let that sink in. At one point, Doom was installed on more computers than Windows 95. It was played by an estimated 10 million people within 2 years, which is a staggering statistic now, let alone back in the mid-90s. This fact alone made Bill Gates consider purchasing development company id Software in its entirety, but in the end he opted to just found a team at Microsoft to port the game over to Windows. A team, by the way, that included Valve head Gabe Newell. Small world, eh? And number 1, the ill-fated Doom 4. The large gap between the release of Doom 3 in 2004 and the rebooted Doom in 2016 can be attributed to the unreleased Doom 4, which remained a mystery for quite some time behind the sealed doors of id Software. Now, thanks to some interviews following Doom 2016's release, we have some idea of exactly what happened during that time. The 9-year development of Doom 4 commenced around 2007, 3 years after Doom 3. The project was then scrapped and restarted sometime after 2010. In the same way that Doom 3 and the original Doom took place on a Martian facility that became infested with demons, Doom 4 would have aped Doom 2 by taking place on Earth, much like Doom Eternal does. However, the Doom 4 and Doom Eternal similarities seem to end rather abruptly right there. Part of the Doom 4 developmental issues seemed to stem from the fact that it was moving away from the classic Doom gameplay and style, and more towards the bombastic set pieces of the likes of Call of Duty. The development staff were all too aware of this comparison, it seems, and came to nickname the project Call of Doom. It's not necessarily a negative. The Call of Duty franchise is a best-selling series after all, and many devs out there would love such a comparison to be made to their work, but as it probably wasn't what most fans wanted out of Doom 4, the whole thing was ultimately scrapped. I guess you could say it was doomed from the start. Oh god, I'm sorry. We nearly made it all the way through without a gag like that. Anyway, that was our list, and I'm very sorry. But what did we miss? Let us know in the comment section below. You can follow myself on TripleJump on Twitter here, and if you want to support the things you enjoy, then check out the rewards on our Patreon. Finally, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. I've been Peter from TripleJump, and thanks for watching.